Hey there, so today I am working on some wedding work. We actually have two separate weddings that we're doing this weekend, and we have two different styles of boutonnieres. I thought that I would bring you along and show you how these two styles of boutonnieres are put together, and so that we could show you exactly what we do here. Watch as we put these together. Okay, so I am starting out with this is called an Eskimo rose. That's the variety of rose. The reason I really like the Eskimo is it is a smaller head than a traditional standard rose. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm just going to cut the stem off the rose. I'm going to discard the rose stem, and I have taken it. That's about 1.5 inches, I would say, in length. I am going to take a piece of wire. Now this wire is a 28 gauge wire. It's a florist wire. This is about the gauge I like to use for boutonnieres and corsages. Anything that is flowers to wear. I am going to take it. I took that wire and I cut it in half, and I'm going to take this wire, and you see this swollen part right underneath the head of the rose. That's called the calyx. So I am going to take and press that wire right through that stem of that rose. I'm going to go all the way in, and so it's right about in the middle of the wire, and I am going to fold that wire down. Okay? There is a wired rose there. Next, I'm going to take just some paper tape. This is corsage tape. It is a paper tape that has been infused with a little bit of wax so it sticks together. I'm going to take that and lay it right there at the top, and I'm going to kind of twist. And so I'm holding it tight right here at the top of the rose stem, and I am going to twist with my left hand and pull that tape downward. Now what that's doing is, as I pull, it's causing that tape to become tacky so it sticks together. Now I'm going to do a second, I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to pinch it there and pull that tape and go all the way down that stem. So there is a wired and taped rose. Next, we're going to add some greenery and filler flower to our rose. So the filler flower I chose is a little bit of wax flower, and the greenery is some eucalyptus. So we've got just some little, this is a small variety of silver dollar eucalyptus, and there is a little bit of wax flower. Now what I like to do is to cut my foliage and my filler flower into smaller pieces, and I am just going to layer it on the rose, and then I'm going to cut my greenery also in two separate pieces. So I'm going to take my rose and I'm going to lay my greenery right there on the back of that stem. Now you can see the stem is there on the back of the rose stem. I'm going to add a little bit of filler flower, just kind of right there to the edge. And so you can see I'm basically just layering the foliage and the filler flower onto the stem. I'm just holding it right down here with my thumb, right there. Next, I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to do exactly like I did before, just holding everything in place, and I'm just going to twist that stem and pull that tape just like I did before. Now let me tell you, it takes a little practice, okay? It's not really easy. It just takes practice. So if you'll get just a stem and twist that tape right onto that stem until you get it figured out, just practice and practice until you get it figured out. Okay, so there is our first very traditional boutonniere. I'm going to take my wire snips and I am just going to cut that short. And there is our first boutonniere. Very simple, very easy, and very pretty, okay? Now our second boutonniere is going to be a little different. I'm going to set this one to the side and I'll show you side by side what they're going to look like. My second boutonniere, we are going to use spray roses. Now, This bride sent me a picture of this boutonniere, so it's a little bit different than what I traditionally do. So with spray roses, I'm going to take 2 stems, and I don't know if you can see this in the video, but there's a couple of bumps and bruises on that petal. I'm just removing those petals just to make sure it's perfect. Okay? All right, so there's my first bud. And then I'm going to take a second one that's a little more open, okay? I'm going to just clean up these stems because their stems on this boutonniere are going to show. I'm going to go ahead and remove any of these guard petals that aren't perfect. So just go ahead and remove anything that's not perfect and put that in the trash. Okay, next what I'm going to do is I am taking that 1/2 of a piece of wire, and I am actually going to cut it in half. So I'm going to use 1/4 of a piece of 28 gauge wire on each of these roses. You see the little calyx? I'm going to push that rose right through that calyx just like I did before. And actually I'm going to trim this wire up just a smidge because I don't need it very long. I'm going to bend that down just like that, and I'm going to do the same with the other stem, taking that little wire, pushing it right through that calyx. Again, I'm going to trim that up, and I'm going to show you the reason why, and then I'm going to bend that down. I'm going to take my corsage tape, and I am going to just tape down to the end of this wire here. So I'm taking that tape and I'm just twisting and going down to the end of the wire. And I'm going to do it twice. That's not necessary. I just like to do it twice. Okay, so you can see I didn't go all the way down to the end of the stem. I'm going to do the same with the second bud. Tape it. And I'm going to tape it again. Again, that's not necessary. It's just something that I've always done, so I just do it, okay? All right, so you see I've taped them down about halfway. I've left some of the stems showing. Next, I'm going to gather a little bit of filler. Okay, and a little bit of eucalyptus. Okay, so I like to always clean up the bottom of that stem because this bottom of the stem is going to be taped with the corsage tape. So I'm just going to strip that foliage just like that, put that in the garbage, and then I have 2 clean stems, okay? And then here is a little bit of silver dollar eucalyptus and then some wax flower. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my smaller bud and I'm going to layer it where it's at the top and the larger buds at the bottom. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm taking my smaller bud and it's going to be at the top of the larger bud. So just like that, okay? Now I'm going to take my foliage and I'm going to layer my foliage. So I just put a couple of pieces of greenery there, and then I'm going to take this other type of greenery. Now before I add my filler flower, I'm going to go ahead and tape because sometimes when you have all of these extra stems, it's hard to hold together. So go ahead and tape it if you want to, but don't tape too much. Leave you a little bit of stem there, okay? All right, next I'm going to take my filler flower. I'm just going to lay it in place, and I do want these bottom stems to show. I'm going to lay that, there we go, lay that in place just like that, and I'm going to tape it again. All right, so there is our taped boutonniere, okay? Now let me show you how I'm going to finish off this stem. Again, this is a picture that our sweet bride provided for us. She wanted something similar to this. So this is called This is called bind wire. It is actually by Oasis, and it's just a floral product by Oasis. It is a paper covered wire. Now what we're going to do is we are going to cover this tape on this boutonniere. Now I like to lay the wire where it has a little bit of length. I don't know how easily you're seeing that, but it's got a little bit of length. Right? So I'm just holding it there. And then I'm going to wrap that stem tape with this bind wire. So I'm just going all the way around until I cover up that floral tape. It doesn't have to be perfect because those stems are actually green, so it's not a big deal, okay? Now what I'm gonna do to finish it off is I have a long piece here, and I have the piece that I left long there. I'm just going to tie that in a knot. And what that's going to do is keep that wire in place. And you can always adjust that wire to make it look the way it needs to. So I tied it so that it was in place. I just tied it in a small knot here, and so I left it in place. Now what I'm going to do is just take my scissors, and I'm just going to trim up those stems. So now you have a finished boutonniere. So this is for one of our weddings. So it is what we would call a spray rose boutonniere. Most often this is the style that we use, but we usually finish it off like this boutonniere has been finished. And then this is a single rose boutonniere with an Eskimo rose, and then this one is a spray rose boutonniere. Guys, thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. If you have any questions about how we make flowers to wear or flowers to carry, please don't hesitate to drop that down in the comments below. If you have not already subscribed to our channel, please do so, and if you'll hit that little bell down there, you will get notifications when we have a brand new video up. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we will see you real soon.